This is Sean Galloway on May the 18th, Monday, and I'm here for the Carroll County History Project, Carroll County Remembers, to talk with Miss Gladys Beaver about her time in Carroll County. How are you today, Miss Beaver?
I'm just fine. I'm doing well, thanks to the dear Lord.
Good, good. Excellent. Now, you're here for a special event today. How old are you?
I was 122nd of March.
You turned
this year.
100 on the 22nd of March, 2009.
Right.
Wow,
right.
That's quite a life there.
And they gave me a wonderful party and all, and there must have been 150 people there.
Wow.
That greeted me and all, and it was really nice. I got a lot of cards and flowers, my goodness. So it was very nice. And but I never thought I'd make it, but I did.
Have you been in Carroll County your whole life?
No, I was born in Southwest Virginia, in Buchanan County, near Grundy, Virginia. And my father, we had 5 boys, and she raised 7 girls. 1 died. And so we lived on this 250-acre farm, and my dad had everything on it almost, and we had our own coal, 20 acres of coal, and so we just had a great time, and a wonderful mother and father taught us to love one another. And we actually got old enough to walk to school. We had to walk 2.5 miles going to school and then back home. And of course we always worked, you know, on the farm, in the field, and milking cows and all that. And we rode to church on mules and went 4 miles to church with baby in my mother's arms and daddy's, and the ones would walk, was big enough to walk, and we'd go to church. And it was wonderful. Sometimes we'd go in a wagon and we'd all go together and ride the wagon and go.
That sounds great. When did you come to Carroll County?
We came to Maryland in 1925. My sister and her husband came up here, and of course my brother was Dennis, was in Baltimore, and then I had 2 sisters and a brother in Washington, so they started persuading us to come up here. So my daddy ran the home out, and we came up here in 1925 in March. And so that's where we've been ever since. And so, of course, we lived first in Medford, Maryland, then we lived at Uniontown, and then we lived on the Thomas farm near the Carroll County Museum. And so we lived there for 9 years. And so we just had a wonderful life. And we always went to church because my mother brought us up that way. And she taught us to love one another and to honor people and be courteous to elderly people, which we were. And so I taught Sunday school 27 years, and I also taught Bible school in the summer, and I loved it. And I taught the children little songs and all, because I played the piano by ear. And so thank God for that gift. And so then I got married in 1933 to Joseph Beaver Sr., and then we had 1 son and 2 girls, and I lost my daughter when she was 54 with cancer, and I just lost my son, Joseph Beaver Jr., with cancer last Friday.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So he was a wonderful boy. He did so many things, and people came to greet me at Brown saying, if he ever was a legacy left in this town, he left one. So I was very proud of him. He did wonderful. He was president of the bank for 25 years, Union National. And 3 banks wouldn't loan the money to the hospital board to start building the hospital. So they went to my son, and he brought it up before the board, and they didn't think he should do it. He said, well, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to do it by faith. And so he loaned them the money to start digging for the hospital foundation. So to this day, he has a record in that hospital. And everybody loves him at that hospital.
That's great to hear. That it sounds like both your children live well and good lives, and I'm sure you're very proud of them.
Son. I never had a speck of trouble with him. He was just a wonderful boy from a little fella up, and I never had any trouble with him.
That's great.
So he married a lovely girl, Kathy Gorman, and so they got along wonderful, and they had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. So I have 9 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me this: you got 9 grandchildren.
Yes.
They all in the Carroll County area?
Oh yes, they're all right around home.
How is Carroll County different today for them than it was when you came in 1925?
Oh my, it is so different now to what it was. When I was growing up, we didn't hear the things that's going on now, the way boys and girls act and all. And they don't honor their father and mother, or the mother and father can't correct them like they used to. And so it's just different, and so many things going on that I just can't hardly believe it's happening. And of course, I was 9 years old during World War I, and that I will never forget.
Why won't you forget World War I? I mean, tell me about it.
We lived in Virginia then on that farm, and my sister was married in April 11th in I was 9 years old. Anyway, he was called in service 1st of June. My brother graduated from high school. He had to go in. And also, all the fellows around there were young, you know, from 18 up. They had to call into the war. And of course, the farmers got their team and wagon and took them to Swords Creek, Virginia, to get on the train to leave to go. And they didn't have much training. They had to go right in. And in November, after they had gotten in the war, why, the flu got so bad. And there's 6 of us at one time down with the flu. And my dear mother took care of all of us. We never had a doctor. She was the one that gave us tea and juice and things like that and all, and brought us all out of it. And I'll never forget her. And she never got it, but everybody else got it, even my father. And so she was carrying her first child, and he was born the 16th of January, after all that was over. And we had 2 parents that would die in bed with it, you know, and leave little children. It was just a sad time. And a lot of people couldn't get sugar, you couldn't get flour, and you couldn't buy material, and so many things you couldn't get in stores. And my mother and father had plenty of fun, and they, of course, had food, because Daddy had wheat and corn that he raised to make a meal and all. Take mix cornmeal and the flour, and we'd give them bread. And then, of course, he raised cane for molasses. And we made molasses and gave them that, as well as honey. And we would take it to them. And it was a hard time, but we all pulled through it. But my brother came out all right, but my brother-in-law was wounded very bad. And of course my sister first heard he was missing in action, and it was very sad for 6 weeks. Then she got a telegram to come to Walter Reed Hospital as fast as she could, that he was there and was very ill. So Mother got her ready and got material and made clothes and things the best she could for her to go. And so she stayed 1 year in Washington at the Walter Reed Hospital. They furnished her a room right beside of my brother-in-law. And one cousin, they never found his body. He never was found. And so we don't know what happened to him, except he blew to pieces so bad they couldn't find him.
How was the family able to deal with that? How did you guys move on?
Well, they took it pretty hard, and of course his mother said, "I'll never be able to rest not knowing where my boy is." And of course Mother would try to comfort her and tell her that God knew where he was. And so we just don't know where he might have been put or anything. A lot of them came home wounded pretty bad and many killed, but thank God there's one family they had 13 boys and 2 girls. And out of that family, with my brother-in-law, those 4 or 5 of them had to go in the service. But all came home okay, except my brother-in-law, Taylor Addison. And so we went through a lot, but we got through it. God took care of us, and everybody stuck together and friended each other. And boys and girls were wonderful in school. They honored their teacher. One teacher from the 1st to 7th grade, she taught. And that was Cook School in Virginia. And she put a curtain between us, or whichever teacher they get, and teach so many on one side and then higher over on the other. Okay. So we respected our teachers. They were good that they could correct us then if they didn't listen. But now they can't do that.
Right.
So many things have changed since I grew up. And it's just hard to understand.
Right, right.
Yes.
Now, tell me about, do you remember the Great Depression?
What, dear?
The Great Depression. Do you remember the Great Depression of the 1930s?
Oh, me, yes. Indeed, I do that.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, so many people lost their money and was so upset about it. We couldn't get sugar hardly then and things, in the store. Like, it was a very hard time. But my father, thank God, raised all kinds of food on the farm, and we'd give away butter, and we'd give away, bread and honey and molasses and things to help out. But some lost their money. 2 of my brother-in-laws on my husband's side lost their money. He almost went crazy when he lost it. It was a terrible time, terrible time.
Now, were you guys farming at that time in Carroll County?
Oh, yes.
So is that more or less how you guys got by with food
Right.
and things of that nature?
Yes, we certainly did. We had a big farm, and Dad raised everything, and my brother-in-law. So we fared pretty good. We really did. But we didn't lose any money, but a lot of them did lose their money. And it was a hard time. Very hard time. But the schools then respected their teachers and all, but we had nice things going on, and we had operettas, and I was in them. We had the Stedman. It's I think it's 78 years old this year, and I was in the first one that started.
Oh, wow. You were in the first Stedfed?
First Stedman started.
Oh, wow.
1926.
That's awesome. So that was the first year after you got here. You got here in 1925. In 1926, you were in the first Stedfed.
That's right.
That is
Right.
great. Where, was it at Westminster?
Yeah, I was a junior. No, first I was a sophomore, and then a junior, and then in a senior we were in things in Australia, Stedman, and so it was wonderful. We did things over. We still did our lessons and all, but we loved being those kind of things, which was wonderful. So they don't have all of that now, but they're starting to get better.
Right. Now, have you been to any of the Stedfeds lately?
No.
No.
I didn't find out when it was this year. Year before last, I was there, and Mr. Sella, he noticed I was there, and he said everybody that was in the first one stand up. Of course, I stood up, and I think there was about 7 of us that was there that night.
Wow.
And so it was great. It really was. And I would have tried to have gone this year, because I love to hear them sing and all, but I didn't hear about it.
What high school did you go to?
Well, I went to New Winter High School for 3 years, and then we moved back to Westminster on Thomas Farm near the Carroll County Museum. Then I graduated from the Westminster High School in 1930. And so then I worked until I went to take care of my sister with arthritis so bad. The one that was married to the husband that had, his leg was shot through. He found he had to lose his leg and get a wooden leg, but he got on fine on it, and even go squirrel and rabbit hunting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but my father and brother. And so he was a great guy, and he worked for the government, of course, and they lived in Washington, D.C. So I stayed there with her, and she had one little child, and I took care of her for a long time. Okay. And she's still living. She's 81 years old now. And she's a very sweet girl. She only had one, and she died very young. In fact, all my sisters and brothers died. Of course, my one brother, Lacey Phillips, was killed in World War II. He never came home. And my brother, grandpa, was also in it, but he, thank God, came home safe. And so that was very hard on my mother and father.
Can you tell me a little bit about your husband? You said you got married, I believe, in 1931?
No, 1933.
33.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes. 1933.
Okay, 1933.
Yeah.
So you graduated high school in 1930?
30.
So you were still relatively young when you got married.
Yeah, right.
Why so young? Why did you choose to get married so young?
Oh, I was 24. I went on a blind date with my 2 sisters and their boyfriend, and we'd come home every 2 weeks from Washington. And so I met him on a blind date. So we all went out together when he got finished at Penny's working there and closed up. And then I got home, we started going together, and we went together, I guess, about a year or 2, and then we got married. Of course, then our first child, Joseph, was born, bless his heart. And so he was a wonderful, wonderful boy. He was just a loving, loving child from a little fella up.
Good.
I think if he told me I love you, Mother, once, he told me thousands of times, I love you, Mother. So he's just a great fellow.
Good, good.
So I had a happy marriage with Joe Beaver Sr., and he was the first driver of the called then SOS bus. And he drove it, I say in 1980. He was 80 years old when he finally decided he wouldn't drive anymore.
What is an SOS bus?
Huh?
What's an SOS bus?
The transit bus now.
Oh, it's the CATS bus.
Yeah.
Oh,
cat,
okay.
A cat, that's it.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yes, they changed it.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
it used to be SOS bus.
Uh-huh.
And everybody liked him so much because he always helped them in and out of the bus. And if they didn't come to the door when he got there, blow the horn, he'd go and see what was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all loved him. Oh my, they hated to see him stop. But he broke his foot, and that he wasn't too good to keep going on.
Right.
So but he gave it up, and he worked for the FMC for, I think, 10 years. He worked for them, but as well as when he drove. And he likes that very well, too.
Good.
And so we put them through college, and high school and college, and got along great. And then he made never over $4 an hour. And we did all of that. But now they got to have more and more.
Yes.
It's a different life. Of course, things are higher than they were then.
Right. If you could have a message for the kids, just anybody out there in the Carroll County area, being as that you've been here well over 80 years, you've been in Carroll County since 1925. What message would that be for the people today that may take things for granted?
Well, I think it'd be a great difference. I think when they took the Bible and prayer and 10 Commandments out of school was the worst thing they could have done. And of course, we had foster children, and we opened up our home, and first we had one little girl. Then when she was adopted, then we had 2 sisters. We had them for 2 years, and then they finally went home, her mother remarried, and then we got 3 girls, 2 sisters and another girl asked if we would take. So we raised them, we took them to church with us, and went through school, graduated, and all with us. And I still hear from them to this day. One California, one to New Hampshire, and 2 live in Thurmont. And I think there's one I lost track of, 2, one passed away. And then I lost a daughter. She was called us, her mom and dad. We had her for 19 years. And she got killed on the way to a prayer meeting. And she'd just been married 4 months. And she was one lovely girl. So we did that to kind of help out. They begged us to do it, so we went. So I enjoyed it. We really loved the girls and all.
Good.
So we had, I think it was 9 in all that were raised. So that was a lot of, and our children got along wonderful with them. Just really wonderful. They went to church every Sunday and Sunday school, and they were brought up right. Yeah. So,
Do you love living in Carroll County? Did you love growing up in Carroll County?
yes. I went back to Virginia, my 2 sisters and one's husband, and we went back in 1983. Oh my, we hardly knew where we lived. Everything had been mining, coal and everything, and our home, everything was gone on it. There was nothing left. And I said, this isn't where we live. And he says, yes, honey, I'm afraid it is. I said, oh my goodness, I could see nothing but rock. Just straight up, you know, where they've been mining, strip mining for coal. And so it was wonderful going back, but now I got home. I'm glad I don't live there anymore because it's so different than what it was when we were there. And we've had a good life in Maryland, and I like it very much.
Well, Mrs. Beaver, thanks for joining us today, and you look beautiful, and I hope you have many more birthdays.
Well, oh my, I don't know. I've lost 2 of my children, and I have one daughter, thank God. She lost her husband 5 years ago, but she's coming back from Israel, she and her son and daughter, tomorrow. And oh, I'll be so glad she gets back, because I've been so lost. But living in a home isn't like your own home. Mm-hmm. It's altogether different. But I enjoy it, and have wonderful ladies that think a lot of me. When I think about leaving, they say, oh, you can't love us. You can't leave here. We want you here. Of course, they're all younger than I am.
Right.
But, well, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Beaver. I appreciate it.